Excellent. Nice to meet you.
You too.
So, before we get into your life and career and what makes you who you are, we've lived through quite a thing with COVID for the last 3 years. How did you survive that time period, and how has it changed the way that you do things now, living your life, conducting business?
It definitely changed my life in different ways. I think it did for everybody. But I have and still have a brick and mortar practice too as well. So I actually got completely shut down in 2020 for a while, and it's actually really changed my perspective on how I do business, how I see business, and I never thought in a million years that would ever happen. So it's actually changed my perspective on doing business in general too as well. I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years, and I couldn't even see that coming ever. I'm sure a lot of people couldn't. So it's changed my perspective a lot in terms of innovation and when you're brick and mortar too and you're hands on, it's like you almost have to go outside of that realm, and how do we do that, and how do we innovate something different ultimately.
As ever present as that time was, I think back now and I'm still stunned at the fact that the world just totally shut down. It's weird,
Yes,
you know?
it's
I
so weird. Yes.
I remember before, I think probably in February of 2020, I was getting my son into hockey. We were watching a game, and I think it was a Blues game, St. Louis Blues, and one of the players had an aneurysm and just collapsed. And it was like
Wow.
maybe two quarters into it or something like that, and they called the game. And I remember going out, and I was telling my wife, they just canceled the hockey game. Like it's just, I mean, not like they shouldn't have, but I just you don't see that. And then lo and behold, the whole world, every sport, everything shut down for months and months. It's so weird what our perspectives were for a while,
Yeah.
you know? So
Absolutely. And what you think wouldn't happen does,
yeah,
like you wouldn't even imagine it.
yeah, it's wild. So
Yeah.
let's get to the essence of what you do for a living. And I'm going to hypothetically put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids. And one of the
Yes.
kids looks up and asks you, what do you do for a living? How do you answer them?
Yeah. So I would definitely answer it. Well, I help businesses make more money at the baseline. So that's how I would explain it. Like I help entrepreneurs who create their own business make more profit. And I do it mainly in the health and wellness field that I've been in for 14 years. And that's what I really have done since 2019. And I was glad I sort of had another way of doing it when 2020 hit too as well, because I still am in alternative medicine, but my main thing now is helping businesses in my field make more money.
But I would think COVID made people more health conscious and changed lifestyles, and it's boomed for you probably since then.
Yes, definitely people got scared about their health, especially in the beginning where there was no medical answers there was no treatment, there was no protection, there was nothing for it. And I think people sort of had that come to Jesus where they're like, I'm ill, and this thing could be a threat to me. And so I found people not only wanted to benefit their health, but they also wanted different perspectives. I even had um, my field of profession sometimes can seem alternative, right?
Right.
But I've had even Western people reach out to me for methodologies like how can I help my immune system? How can I be more healthy when there was no answers inside of Western medicine? So even Western medicine sort of got on board with a lot of other alternative methodologies.
So when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a pediatrician when I was young. So I sort of bounced between pediatrician and psychologist, and weirdly I landed in alternative medicine. And really it was through my own journey of being sick as a kid and being like, is there anything better than this? Like, is alternative or Western medicine the only way? Is the pill an only way of getting better? And I found that it ultimately wasn't. Of course, I'm not against Western medicine. I'm more integrative in my approach, but there's other ways of getting better with your health.
So let's go a little bit further into your childhood. Where were you born and raised, and what were some of the seeds that were planted in you to want to be a business owner and to provide products for people to have a healthier life?
Yeah, so I was actually born and raised in upstate New York, and my whole family is really from there. I live in South Carolina now, so I'm actually farther south away from the snow. But I guess like I had no alternative medicine in my life until my mom took me to a chiropractor when I was 12. I had a lot of asthma and allergies, and it really inhibited me from doing things, even like sports. Sometimes I was a big sports player, and in high school, and it would inhibit me. And that was actually where the chiropractor that I saw at the time as a kid was the only person that helped me other than an inhaler, and some medication. But he was like, you can actually heal this naturally. And it actually drove me into looking at alternative professions. And I got into acupuncture actually when I was I was 20, and it actually stemmed from chiropractic. I was looking at colleges for that. So my early childhood though was I had a great upbringing. I had really loving parents, but I had no idea what I was going to do. I sort of thought I was going to take the traditional path of medicine, and I got turned around in that.
So, talk to me a little bit about who's been inspirational for you in your journey in life, or a role model. Who has that been for
Yeah.
you?
So my grandma actually was one of my role models as a kid. She actually passed away in 2021. She lived to be 98 years old, and she always like took care of herself, and she never really turned to Western medicine unless she broke her hip or something like that really detrimental. She always turned to herbs or food or rest or whatever it was. So she was actually one of my role models as a young child. And then as I got older, I had some professional role models that really helped me in alternative medicine and entrepreneurship, that sort of mentored me through what is it like to be an entrepreneur and how do we do this. And I started really young, so I was straight out of the gate not knowing really anything, and I was lucky to find a few mentors that actually helped me to excel in the field, and like, you can do it, you can actually, you can actually do it. So those were my grandma as a personal, and then a few of my professional mentors were big inspirations to me.
We've come a long way with medicine. Even back in the old days of like taking a whiskey soaked rag and having to pull something off and you just bite down on it. There's been so much in a very short, rapid amount of time.
Yes.
What, in your estimation, has been one of the biggest, most beneficial medicinal or health developments that have happened over, say, the last 50 years?
Yeah. So I would say, like, over the last 50 years, I would say one of in my field is I would say the integration of medicine, right? Like the integration, not saying one is, it used to be versus, Western, you had to be like Western medicine, or you had to be Eastern. You only could do anything natural, even if you really needed surgery. So I found that, especially in the last, I would say 7 years, there's like a merging of medicines where we can take the best of both worlds, and utilize methodologies such as acupuncture, chiropractic, herbals, dietary guidelines, whole foods, frequency medicine, whatever it is, and merge it with advancements in surgery and cancer therapies and everything. So I have found like the merging of the two medicines and being okay on both sides, whatever is good for that patient or that person, is a big advancement of medicine, because Western and Eastern medicine tend to bump heads, and you have to sort of pick a side, and that's really never been true, right? And there's certain areas where Western medicine is the best way, and then there's certain areas where actually Eastern medicine can lead a person into healing and health. So I found that the merging of the two medicines is, I find, like the best future of medicine.
So, what is it that's the ultimate motivator for you every day to do the work that you do? You're obviously providing essential pieces to help people's lives. What is it that motivates and drives you?
So I've always had, even as a kid, I've always felt really called to help people, to be honest, and help people. It sort of led it down to health or wealth, right? It sort of leads down that path. But I would say I have an internal drive that I feel like I was somewhat born with, to some degree, almost like a destiny that is calling me on a daily basis. The other thing I find is, I mean, my family at a personal basis too as well. I wake up, I like to be an entrepreneur. I can be home with my children and also make my own schedule. So that's a big driver to stay within this realm of entrepreneurship versus going to get, a job or something that would be 9 to 5 for me. I think that those are both big drivers on a daily basis for me.
What's been one of the best success stories you've had with those that consume your products and clients that you've had? What's been one that really stands out to you?
Yeah, so I'll start with I'll start with my entrepreneurship side. So I actually help medical professionals and alternative medical professionals really grow their business. And I had a woman come to me where she was sort of lost and confused on how to get clients and how to motivate clients and how to get them to come back to you and everything. And she went from really having no established practice to being fully booked out, right? So that was like a really cool, and I've had more than one client, but I just remember this woman because she really wanted the freedom for herself and her family, but she was sort of lost and confused on how to do it. So I guided her through that process. And she's still doing well to this day. And then on the alternative side, I'll share this story because when I was actually in grad school, and I'll never forget this guy, we had a male come to us who had been in the military and fell off a ravine and broke his pelvis, like shattered it completely.
Wow.
And he hadn't even, so he went to Western medicine, morphine wouldn't even touch his pain. And he came into alternative. It was crazy. He came into the clinic, and I was intern at the time. This actually made me a big believer in this medicine because he came in. He was like, I'm so desperate. I just can't get relief from pain. I just, nothing is happening for me. And he got on the table. We put needles in him because I'm an acupuncturist by trade. So it's like we put the needles in, and he just started crying because he was relieved of pain in that
Wow.
instant.
Wow.
And then he came back and he said, even he came back the next time because usually it's a cumulative effect. They have to usually come back with acupuncture. And he was like, I've never felt that in X amount of years, even with the painkillers, even with the morphine. And he actually went on to be a great client. I mean, he got almost completely relief of all of his pain.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
For
it was
sure.
amazing. I'll never forget him because it sort of transformed me in my internship too as well.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. If you can meet anybody alive, whether it's medicine or otherwise, on the planet right now and spend some time with someone, who would it be?
If they're alive.
Well, it could be either. Whatever. Yeah, we could go either way.
So I would definitely want to meet Carl Jung, the psychologist.
Hmm.
Like I'm always fascinated with psychology and shadow work. I would really want to have a conversation with him outside of his books, and his teachings. That would be somebody I would like to meet.
Very cool. So, Katie, everyone out there, you have all these pockets of people that you interact with. You have family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you ultimately are the driving force. You live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I've never actually been that question. I would say like I think I'm pretty driven and ambitious in my when I get set my mind to something. I'm also I would say compassionate by nature, helping people in general. But I'm also fairly honest too as well. Like I don't really beat around the bush with people. If I feel like a truth needs to be said, I feel like people come to me for that if they need some advice that they really want to hear the truth or what to do. So I would say like I have an advisory component to me as well.
So, if you right now could put a statement together for anybody that's skeptical about alternative versions of medicine and they're on the fence, what would you say to someone to say, you know what, the conventional route, if it's not working, or this route is something you should explore? How would you convince them to do that?
So I always tell clients, so it's almost like, or potential clients, it's like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If you want to try alternative medicine, usually there's minimal side effects in general to alternative medicine. And even if you tried a pill, there's often more side effects associated. So I always say like, try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? You try a different methodology, you have an experience with somebody, you like it or you don't, it works or it doesn't. But the best thing that happens is it works and you get relief from whatever you're struggling with. And sort of when people are on the fence, they usually have fears like, is it gonna work? Am I is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna make me worse? Is it these fears sort of drive the reason why. And also, you don't have to believe in alternative medicine, especially researched alternative medicine. I want to say traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture is highly backed and highly researched for certain types of conditions. And it's almost like give it a try. There's really nothing to lose in it other than maybe spending the money for a little period of time or trying something new, but you're not going to have the detrimental side effects like a surgery could have, or even taking a medication could have if you're afraid of something. So that's usually what advice I give to people.
Excellent. So Katie, if anyone out there wants to get involved with any of your products, any of your services, learn more about you, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Yeah, so I have two websites. I have the beyondinstitute.org, and I actually have katiecorbin.com. That's in the makes right now, actually, but it'll probably be up by the time that this is ready to go.
Okay, cool. Katie, this has been great. Thank you for opening up. I think it's very essential for people to be able to explore and understand that there's another side to conventional medicine. So thank you for taking time out today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Best of luck. Take care.